Well, today's elections have major implications for the White House. President Obama holding a live news conference set for this time tomorrow, be 1 p.m. Eastern. Set your DVR. Today he reached out for last-minute support from the youth vote. Today and yesterday he did, calling in to American Idol host Ryan Seacrest on his radio show. Seacrest asking the president about his interview with Jon Stewart on The Daily Show. Take a listen.
He called you dude. Some people were offended by that. Were you?
Of course not. I promise you, as president, you're called much worse than dude. That's guaranteed.
Effective use of the president's time? Richard Socarides is a former special assistant to President Clinton and my guest now. So,
yes,
Seacrest...
effective use.
Yes?
Yes.
How so? Is that going to motivate the voters?
You know, he's obviously looking for some friendly questions. I don't know. You know, it's election day. You talk to people who want to talk to you, and this is a nice,
just
friendly
saying, we got
interview.
unemployment that's almost 10%, you know, record foreclosures and bankruptcies and so on. And the interview talked about this. Remember the movie The American President, where Michael Douglas, playing the president, couldn't order flowers for Annette Bening's character? Ryan Seacrest asked him whether that's true. Can you really not order flowers for your wife? And President Obama responded, actually, we get to keep our own credit cards as president, and that's how I get all the credit with Michelle.
That's kind of an interesting question, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, it is, actually. I do find it interesting.
I went shopping
But the day before the election, the day of?
I went shopping with President Clinton once in Paris, and he didn't have any money. I had to pay.
Now we're doing it. I'm just saying, so what is the point of this? Is this really going to encourage the college kids to get out and pull the lever?
I think, you know, probably what they're looking for is probably uncommitted voters or voters who might not otherwise vote. And, you know, I think it's a pretty effective use of the president's time on election day.
Because it just makes him seem likable. You say, you know what, I like him. I'm going to forgive him.
I think probably they think that there are probably some voters listening to that.
All right, so he's jolly and he's nice and he's likable with Ryan Seacrest. Is he jolly and nice and likable tomorrow at 1 p.m. when he has his news conference in the wake of whatever we're going to see tonight? What should he do? Well,
I think he's got tomorrow to send a very strong message to people and just say, I heard you, I got the message, now it's time to get to work. I mean, the problem they've had so far is that they don't really seem to want to listen to other people. They think they have all the answers. I think the president has to say, I've heard the message from the voters. I'm willing to change. I can do better. We've got to do better. It's time to compromise.
I'm willing to change. It's time to compromise. What is the likelihood of that message coming out of this White House?
Well, I think it's going to be quite a night for them, and I think it's going to be a real wake-up call. I mean, it may happen more gradually over the period of time. It may happen over a couple of days, but I think the president is ready to make some changes. I think, for instance, you know, we've talked before about White House staff changes. This is an important time to send a signal with a staff change to bring somebody in. Well, I'm not sure anybody has to go. That's a little tricky, but they could bring in as a senior counselor a moderate Republican, someone who can work with the other side. People are talking about Ken Duberstein, who was one of President Reagan's chief of staff, who's known as very moderate, has worked with a lot of Democrats, is liked on both sides of the aisle, much like President Clinton did when he brought David Gergen in.
How is it going to, I mean, he had somebody who was more moderate, and that was Rahm Emanuel in there telling him, don't do the public option on health care. You need to strike something less grandiose than the plan you're pursuing, and he didn't listen. So, I mean, how is that going to help? Because it seems like the president has had some more moderate advice and didn't listen to it.
I'm not sure why the situation with Rahm didn't work out. I mean, clearly Rahm got out when the getting was good. I mean, because you know, if he was still there, he'd be the person blamed for this. But it didn't work, and either he wasn't listened to or the time wasn't right.
But I'm trying to get to sort of President Obama's ideology, because it's not going to be news to him if the Democrats who voted for health care, for example, lose in massive numbers tonight. Is President Obama really going to go to the microphone and say, I hear you, I get it, you hate that bill?
Well,
no, he's not going to do that.
I don't think he's going to say that, but I think you can send a message. You can say, I'm ready to work with the other side. And I think by the same token, you know, the Republicans have to come in tomorrow now also and say, we are ready to get to work. We want to move forward. We want to work for the good of the country. Anybody, you know, if they start talking about defeating Obama in the next presidential election, or if the president continues to talk about people, other Americans, about enemies, we're in big trouble. I mean, what the fear is that after tomorrow, that the partisanship and the bickering and the you know, everybody to their own corners he's going to get worse. But I think that there's a slim chance if people start to act better and start to learn some lessons from this election, that starting tomorrow, things actually could go kind of well for a little while.
And listen to mom and dad, meaning the voters. I think it's interesting. The one thing you say the Democrats should not say is, it's not that bad. You voters don't get it. We'll show you.
Right.
They're tired of hearing how stupid they are and how they misunderstand things.
Don't tell the voters they voted this way because they don't understand. That's what nobody should be saying.
And we'll see whether the White House
Because
listens
the
to you,
voters
Richard.
always know best.
We'll see whether President Obama listens to you the way President Clinton listened to you. And we've got the evidence to prove it, in case you doubt me. Richard, thank you.
Thank you.
See you tonight at 2 a.m.
See ya.
A battle of the poll watchers is shaping up today. The Department of Justice sending election observers